Hi everyone, I'm Darjan. Yeah, we have 1 hour, so which is actually quite a long time for a long talk or webinar talk slash questions. We will have also possibilities if you have interest in some special things to dive in. Why not? So we're open and flexible regarding the schedule. We will have a talk about the book, the background of the book, and some projects, what we are doing besides the book, where we use the book. So kind of everything. Okay, the dishwasher is done. Okay, so let's dive in. So why? So the question is, why did we start with this book? Actually, we didn't aim to have a book, but we have to be honest. It was a question for a long time because we know also interactive things for a long time. So everybody who is since a longer time in the business knows the main question is, how do we give to the new people in the team the knowledge how we work? So educating people and kind of passing the culture to the next ones was a big question. And the second question for us was teaching, because we teach at universities. So we were actually trying to put together I wouldn't say it was the approach, but we were trying to put together the ideas, how we teach. And the third one is, as we are all in the data-viz field, we realized this is actually not how we work. So we are not in this topic for, let's say, at least Nicole and me in the field of Superdot, we're not in the topic of, is this the right color to pick? Is red an aggressive color, or is it better to use green? What are the benefits from a pie chart? What are the benefits from plots and so on? So actually we saw it more in a different way. And actually that's how we came to start working on something else. And what is this else? Okay, boy, I see now. I have to go one step back. Else means Darjan grew up in Vienna. So I grew up in Vienna. And actually, I studied business informatics. I finished a master actually in a different field, where I, as a student, worked for IBM. And there was, I don't know, probably if you do a lot of IT projects, you know that there are a lot of meetings where the question of efficiency and people participating in the meetings a lot of time brings a question until somebody takes a pen and a flip chart and starts to draw something, some lines on the flip chart, and everybody's, yes, that's exactly what we were talking about. So that was for me at that time something very special and interesting. And then I found this image, which is now more than 100 years old. It's from Vienna's main hall, which was an exhibition organized by the social insurance from the city of Vienna back in, I don't know exactly, but okay, I know, something like before the Second World War. The idea behind this exhibition was to educate and give the people of Vienna, where there was a problem of like reading and literacy, so to explain them statistics, but also about the human body, hygiene, and so on. So actually, this was something I think very inspirational, very simple. You would say, it's only posters, but they were actually very kind of important social topics explained in a different way. And I was asking myself back then, why did nobody teach me in business or informatics to work visually? So I started researching on this dude. He's called Otto Neurath. And there is actually, it's called Gesellschafts- und Wirtschaftsatlas. It's a economic and social atlas from 1933, which is available in a museum in Vienna. And as that museum is not that popular, it was quite easy to get into the archive and talk to the people. And also to get access to this gold. I would say it's gold, because you will find here, from the visual side, you will find here grammatics and creativity, which got lost, let's say in a provocation, which got lost with computers. So kind of when people were doing things by hand and kind of different printing techniques, they had other freedoms and other possibilities than we have maybe with Excel and other tools. So that was for me, at least one of the points where we said with Nicole, we should maybe try to analyze that and find the grammar in things that we didn't see so far. And so wherever you see us here a little bit reverse engineering it, we were even thinking to reprint it. So actually that was one of the things that how it started. So, actually we should do that. It's cool. Everybody will like that. And we saw that there is a lot of, in the old sketches, actually, mathematics in all the icons and all the stuff. Actually, you see also I had back then, I had hair, so I lost them through the process. Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing is that maybe to now come back to where we are today is actually that I lived first in Zurich after I finished. I came to Zurich. I worked for Credit Suisse. Maybe I shouldn't say it today. I think it's okay again. And then decided to study again. So I went to Basel, to Hagika, for the design school. And there I studied together with Nicole. We studied the master in iconic research, visual communication and iconic research. And what I learned back then is that designers in their basic education, they have an amazing approach, which is creating different variations. And maybe I don't have to go, that's more Nicole's topic, but what Nicole taught me back then also is that just with two colors, black and white, you can make millions of variations and possibilities. Why is that important? We will say, come to there. Another thing is probably everybody from you knows Josef Albers and Bauhaus, which is also, I mean, all these things, they are really old stuff. And what you see here is actually a class with Josef Albers where everybody got paper. So people were free to create new forms out of that paper. And then afterwards, the class was discussing the kind of what are the advantages, what is the meaning, and so on. So kind of training, judging, right? Reflection and training the judging process. And that only makes sense if you have more than one. So if you see more, then you can judge. And now bringing back the bridge, this is paper, is the raw material. Today we have data. So why don't we do this with data? That's actually the mindset. Okay, and so this, what you see is the process of the book creation. You see sheeps and mountains. That's because there was COVID and there was lockdown. And there was, today I would say actually not that bad situation, but then back then I was thinking, oh my God, we lost actually in that moment a lot of projects, actually most of them. So we had plenty of time. And that was our therapy to not get crazy in that process of COVID. So we went to the mountains and we rented a little cottage and we started drawing. And we started thinking about these little pieces which make a difference in a graph. And what you see here, this was on a wall. The landlord was not very happy when we gave back the cottage because you have, no, actually, it was okay. Yeah, so what you see here is that we started thinking about the distinctions, the kind of how can you make a distinction by color or by gradients or patterns and so on. So we started extracting these basic ingredients. We call them afterwards elements. And after a while, we had a lot of them. So actually, everything what you see in a book exists at least as one sketch. So actually, we have all the pages at least one time sketched or more. So afterwards, we were digitalizing it. But we had all the sketches. This is in our office. And what we did there is, you can see this is the process of reorganizing and sometimes difficult discussions between us. What element belongs to which group? How do they come together? What is actually a sub-element of something else? So actually there was a lot of reorganizing and redoing things. And we came actually we realized also one other thing, that doing things by hands is a little bit like meditation and yoga. So it calms down. So all the speed that today's tools are giving us, all the digital tools, it's actually quite nice. I know it's sometimes doesn't. We have that discussion every time with students because like, come on, I can do that with the iPad much faster. And actually, you were talking about data wrapper before. I can do that with data wrapper or Tableau and so on. And we're like, okay, put that all by side, please. I know it seems inefficient, but do it by hand. Because by doing it by hand, because we actually don't want to do it, we think about it in a different way. Does it really make sense to do it? So there is a different, let's say, thinking behind it. So we realized that also when we did the book. So it got, every time we were drawing something, it got a little bit more sharper in the idea. And yeah, I started actually researching in eBay and Ricardo and buying all the stencils that nobody needs anymore, and rulers and all the cool stuff. And yeah, and then comes the process that we started asking if publishers are interested in this book, because at some point we had 200 pages. And the other thing that we did is actually we went for Kickstarter, where we were really very nervous because we were thinking nobody will buy this book. Nicole started at the beginning of Kickstarter, said, okay, I think we need to buy ourselves some so that it's not zero. So we have to push it up a little bit. The algorithm and so on. So, but actually we were lucky. So it went quite good. We had in the end, in dollars, $50,000. We had a lot of books sold. Then our publisher called us and said, we were thinking that our publisher would say, yeah, great job, super. But they were like, this is a problem. And we're like, why is this a problem? We are happy. And they're like, yeah, but actually now we have to print more books because you pre-sold actually a lot of books. We didn't expect that. So it was an interesting process, especially because we were in the end packaging the 740 books. We were packing them ourselves. So that was also a second mindful yoga part, looking, who bought the book? Oh, this is going to Malaysia. That's cool. So yeah, that's the fun part. But yeah, you shouldn't ask for the hourly, if it makes sense by hourly salary wage. Yeah, but it's a more mental thing. Yeah, so we had our books delivered to our office. That was the happy day. It was in May 22. And this is the fast walk through the book. But now we will go into the detail. So this was a long introduction of the why we did this. And we were also trying to do something very well printed with Pantone colors, high pigment, high colors. So more like also a coffee table book, because we were thinking maybe people don't want to read it. So it should look at least a little bit more nice, attractive. Yeah. And yeah, so we are coming to the system. I do the first chapter, then okay, good. So I do the first chapter, which is the yellow one.
Because it's your
Which,
chapter.
pardon?
It's your chapter.
It's my chapter. Yes. Why is it my chapter? Because it's about data. I love data. The book is actually split, as I said, into these little ingredients, the little elements. And basically, I'm not used to stand here. I have to come here. So basically, if you combine some of the data that you have with some diagram types, with some visual elements, with some structuring, then in the end you have this kind of new multi-dimensional, maybe it's not even that new, but you have one variation. And then you take something else and something else and something else. And then you have, at the end, you have a lot of different ones and you have to judge for yourself which one and decide which one is better. Yes. This is just a random image by showing a family. Why? And also my chapter is there is actually the term. I mean, today we still, I don't know if everybody is aware. How would you call yourself in this area? Are you a data visualization expert? Are you a information infographics expert? Are you a data UX designer? What is our title in this field, right? There are a lot of titles. And there is also one which is called data designer. I see some. I would say the chapter number 2, so this yellow chapter, is actually really, I would say, the interpretation what is data design. And that is the following. I was thinking when we were starting this, we were said it would be actually cool to have one data set for the whole book, because you know there are a lot of also data with books, but in every chapter or even every page there is a different data set, and you're every time, okay, in this diagram we talk about climate data, and the other one we talk about deforestation, and the other one. So every time you have to even do a topic-wise translation of what is there. So I thought that is actually quite complex. We were discussing it and decided together that it would be actually cool to have one data set which works for all diagram types. So that's actually quite a challenge, and which is so easy that everybody can refer to it. So we were, after a discussion and a longer period, we said actually family is a good one, because everybody has a family. Every person has a birth date, so we have time. We can let them die, so we have a second date. Everybody is born somewhere. Everybody can live somewhere. Everybody has gender, name, surname, and so on. So actually, we invented this family where we have two families here, which are represented with a random image. We have the family Brown and the family Wagner. Why Brown? Because Brown is the most frequent name in the English-speaking area 100 years ago. And Wagner, yeah, today it's not the best surname. It was before Wagner Group, but Wagner is the most frequent German-speaking surname. And the other, the names Elizabeth, Paul, Otto, and on the other hand, James and Anna, these are statistically seen the most frequent names, also from 100 years ago in German or English-speaking area. So we had that one. And based on the data that we wanted to have for the diagrams, so you have to imagine, you have the data, and then we are reconstructing from the data a story. Actually, we invented a story about two entrepreneurial families. The one, the Wagners, they are living in Vienna, and the other ones are in London. And Paul, the son from the Wagner, from the Austrian family, is going to Paris. And there he's meeting Elizabeth Brown from London. Then they meet, then they fall in love, then they have children. And we have the nice complexity in the data. So how that works is the second chapter is actually telling the story from text, how you extract from text, how you can extract data. Here we are highlighting it as we learned it in school and giving them little icons so that you can kind of place them in the same order. And at some point you can extract a table. In this table, we have family names with kind of two different ones. We have the first names, we have the place of birth, the year of birth, the hometown, and the year of death. And that's actually more than enough to start doing different diagram types. And based on the left side of the table, you are able to extract new categorical information like gender, generation based on the year. Did they relocate? Did they go from one city to another one? So we have two different ones. We can extract the age at death, and we can extract three different age groups. So actually, we have a very big table for diagrams, which is quite simple. And with that one, we started then afterwards in this chapter, we started the process of little analysis, looking how many times do we, what kind of expression in the table, what can we do, and so on. So basically, the yellow chapter of the whole book is about this data set. Let's call that data design, where we extract it from a text. We come to the little table and then look from it from, is it time, is it location, and what kind of data type it is. And then we come to the next one.
Good. So the next one is the blue chapter. It's called diagrammatical dimensions. So we went a bit deeper into mathematics because we analyzed what kind of mathematical basics you can have related to data. And we can say you have this section of quantity, you have position, and you have relationship. And with that, you can actually explain all the data. And of course, you have different expressions in the quantity as well. You can use to show quantity, you can use line length, or you can use area or something else. So this is the second chapter of the book. And in the book, we always use this mathematical basic diagram shape as a main icon. And then below on the left side, we use the data from our table that Darjan explained to you before to have a very simple element. So you can see we try to explain the process from data to the diagram and to a chart really step by step, so you can find your own way how to approach data design. These are just for double spreads as an example. Then this is a new thing that we tried. I mean, when we were in the mountains, we had the rule not to look at other database books, not to look at other methods, because we said we don't want to make a PhD and we don't want to get confused with insecure, because we think what we do is maybe not so interesting or not good enough or not scientific enough. So we said, okay, the rule is not to look at these books. But what we did later is to take all these elements, the blue elements, so the diagrammatical dimensions. These are, I think it's 25, right? That we found are the basic elements of all the diagrams that exist. And maybe you know this project, it's called, I think, DataWiz project. Yeah. DataWiz project, and they have a huge collection with many diagrams. So we took that as a basics and said, okay, let's check like which diagrams we could place where. And yeah, this is like our first survey that we did, and it's interesting to see. I think like we have in for some elements we have much more diagrams that appear there. So this is kind of an ongoing research that we do, but what we want to say with this, that actually all the standard chart types or diagrams and maps, you can map them or fit them to all these elements. There's actually nothing you cannot fit in. So with our system, you can not only build like new diagram types, but also all the other ones. And that should help you to really understand the process from data to design. And then the second or the third thing is the structuring dimensions, because we discussed a lot. So when you have like all these bars for a bar chart, for example, in one line, then you would also have the option to sort them in a different way. Like on one hand, as the shape can be different because you sort them around the circle or just as a star or something. But also you have to think from the content and how do you sort the diagram? Are you doing it by from the highest to the lowest number, or alphabetical, or by something else? So that's actually that part. And then in the end, if you have a lot of data, you usually group them, and I think in some tools it's called faceting, or you have different names in different tools and in different theories, but this should just explain this approach very generally. Yeah, so this is the theory to that. So this, and then what do you use in design anyway a lot to differentiate two things or two categories or two groups is the visual dimensions. And these are like selected elements of the visual dimensions, because sometimes you use two colors or two different shapes or even icons, like in the Otto Neurath Atlas, or two different colors of lines or two ways of lines. And this is our like the design collection of all the possibilities that you can have to say, like one family to another, one is blue, one is red, or one generation is green and the other one is red, or these people who moved to Vienna, they are a circle and the other ones are a square or something like that. Yeah, so we try to show this by these small examples again. And in the end, we have like 80 elements from all the three different groups. So the most are in the red part. There's like 45, blue 25, and then about 15 in the green section. And and here we can just see some of them, but in the book you would find all of them. Yeah, and then of course there's all this theory of all these elements, and then is a bit the question, okay, how do I work with this? So we tried to explain also the process, how to really work with it. So this, all the system, I must say, maybe is totally independent from the tool, because we think tools can change all the time. So some people like to work in Illustrator, some people like to work with R, some people like to work with Tableau, and we cannot say all the time, this you can do in Tableau, but this you can do in Illustrator. So we said, okay, tools change anyway, so we make it independent. And here we try to map the system, how actually we map the data to the different elements. And the yellow ones are the data dimensions, and the blue ones are the blue ones from before. So we really try to follow the color codes throughout the book, not only the data. So we really make it really that, educational maybe. So here in this image, you can see the system on the left side, so the data cube again, and then on the right side would be like in coding, what would come out if you followed this pattern. And here is like a step-by-step guide how to come to really do this. Like first you have for example, for the age, you have a line length for each person, 10 people, so 10 lines. And then you add like the family color, blue and red, and then gender, the tint of the color. Then you sort them by age, it makes this little star, and then you group them by generation, and then this shapes is the final result. So really like step by step. These are some examples. Yeah, and what we did in the process, this is back at our office in, yeah, you can see the COVID times. We used a lot of like old examples, but also historical examples, but also new ones to really test the system and to see if our theory would also work with examples from infographics and data visualizations that exist. Yeah, and here is an example of the book page. We have like 26, we call them multidimensional diagrams in the book. So we, for all the examples we show on the left upper side, like a little story that comes, now there's a description on the right side that age as line length, sorted radially at the, no, that's at an angle and grouped freely in space by generation. So this is actually the text maybe that we could have generated with a bot now, but we did it by hand. And yeah, and a small insight in each, what is in each generation, the number of women and men is in balance. So, but the thing is that when we designed all these examples, we tried to use all the 80 elements that we were defining. And it was funny to see that even we looked really closely at the table all the time, we could find very small but new connections and stories. And that was quite special to realize. But each of these examples has a left side with the example and the right side with all the elements and the legend and everything. So really step by step. But the thing is, when we look at 3 different examples from the book, this is coming back to the variation building from the very Swiss graphic design style, the black and white image from the beginning that Darjan showed, to really show that you can do with very similar elements, you can do very different stuff. So they all use line lengths for the data, they all use the same colors and patterns, and still the output is different. So here we can see the the elements that they all use. And then the difference is the green one. So the sorting and the grouping is different. So I think it needs a bit of thinking to really understand how the system works, but we are convinced that I think it's not easy. We see it also when we teach to really understand the concept. But I think after when you understand it, it gives you more freedom to create your own designs. Yeah, this is just another example. And here it's a different perspective on the examples that we have. These use all exactly the same data, but not the same elements. So they have age, family, gender, and generation, but they look very different, but it's the very same data. Yeah, and this is a very recent example of a wall from teaching at the HSLU in Lucerne. And what we do with the students from the first year is, yeah, by hand, drawings. In the beginning, they're maybe always a bit like surprised that they have to do this by hand, but usually they work super concentrated and they also have fun, because when they see that they work with the data that someone from the class collected, and then they work with the same data, all of them, and then when they realize that you can do so many things with the same data, they're actually quite happy about it. And then what we do here is kind of a reverse engineering, so we let them work and do sketches, and then we reverse engineer with these modular information design elements what they actually did. And then when they know that, then we start to add more elements, and it's like quite playful. and works quite well. Yeah, and yeah, maybe we can show, I don't know, about the time. So this is also a page of this atlas from Otto Neurath, where we just analyze a bit the colors and the systems in Vienna. And yeah, we have some examples that you show, right?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
We have
I don't know. Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, this it's just showing a little bit kind of that the system works in kind of the playful construction of new diagrams, but also reverse engineered of the things that others have been doing. Here, sorry guys, for those who are online, I have to be now in front of the screen. So we have in this example from Neurath, we have the countable diagram type. So actually each of these persons stands for a certain amount. So each figure is 10%. So actually in this diagram type, there are 10, so 100%. Then we have the second one, we have a color distinction for the groups. I don't see that now currently in this, what these three groups are. Bürgerliche, yeah. Workers, farmers, and bürgerliche Partei, party, conservative party, I would say. And we have the shape here in use so that you see that that's humans, and we have the stacking, and we have the balance, like left and right balance in use here. That you can see that actually there is a middle axis. So kind of you can see the ones which are going that direction immediately, and the ones which are going more this direction. So kind of you have different elements. You use this the old one, and the other one is something. Actually, yeah, this is very fast. We did some graphs for the Deutsche Zeitmagazin. If you work with newspapers, the newspapers tell you what to do topic-wise, and this was actually a funny topic. It was about German cities with animal names. So we got the data, and you can see in Germany kind of how many and the kind of the most frequent, if you aggregate them, most frequent name is the Hahn. You have a lot of Hahn towns in Germany. We had that on the map. We developed the icons. We have a lot of, is it Hund or I think it's a lot of dogs, and we have bees 4 times. So it was a funny topic. Yeah, we had to work very fast. So, and to have that, yeah, we have a kind of position by map. We have, again, in this case, we have the countable ones. So how many times we have, then we have the different icons inside. We have colors so that you see kind of Säugetiere. Mammals. Yes. Mammals, birds, insects, fish. So color used for that. We have them, in this case, we have them sorted by amount. So kind of the most frequent is more up. You could also sort them by alphabet. So that would be another sorting. Here it's sorted by the amount. And we have them split into, again, also this and this are this kind of same combination by group. So mammals, fish, and so on. Yeah, this is another project about the SDGs. We did a book for the United Nations World Data Forum, where we have kind of used color, different things. I would jump to the next one, actually, to have some interaction. I would ask you to tell me what you are interested in. I have 8 different projects. There is a QR code. If you go over this QR code, you can click on one of these images. Wait, let me explain what these are, the projects. So this one is an augmented reality experiment we did for the World Health Organization and Statistical Department about CO2 levels and income correlation. This is for Swiss Post. It's on interaction design. It's actually an older project on kind of working playful with data and making a microsite. This one is a repeating project we did for the agricultural ministry on egg consumption in Switzerland. It's a print poster. This one is the newest thing that we did in September at the Vienna Design Week. The Vienna Design Week, maybe I have to show it like this, where we tried to create we had a dedicated room, an installation with people. This one is an annual report in a playful way. It's one of our first projects. It's more than 10 years old. This one is with, this is the director from the statistical department of Switzerland who is explaining actually the same data like here in a quite cool 3-minute video where all the data is around him. This one is an application, self-initiated, about the new diagram type that we made also years ago about income unbalance. And this is a new diagram type we created for Eurostat about the cost of living. So I would ask you to submit your wish, everybody also online. I will give, maybe 1 minute or something. And then I can go to the results and see what you do. And then I will react. I don't have a presentation now to continue. I will have the projects online. So let me see. How does it look? Okay, we have 24 answers. Oh, that's interesting. You know why this is? Oh, okay, changing. Because this image, this icon is a blockbuster on Behance. And it's really an old project, but kind of from the colors and how it is, people really like, oh, and we're like, okay, there are other projects, but it works. Let me see, one more refresh. Okay, the newest things, your interest in new technologies, AR. Okay, good. Let me do one more refresh. Okay, so I have 15 minutes and I will fill them with some projects. Good. So our website has a fresh look since this week. Let's go to the projects. Okay. Let's start here. This project, I will show you the whole process. Okay, the video I will show, you will be able to see the video. I will just do first where it started. So we are in a lucky position that we have actually a quite good relationship with the statistical department of Switzerland. So we did a lot of projects and they approached us for the anniversary. So there is, you know, Hans Rosling, that's this guy who got, he is probably already before, but he got even more famous with this BBC video he did in, okay, I don't see when, it is, you see from the style, it's a little bit older. So there is the overlay of the data, which is the data, it's a scatter plot with 2 axes, which is the one is lifespan and the other axis is income. And there is a logarithmical scale and you have all the countries and the animation goes where he is talking about, or maybe I can even start it a little bit so that you have a feeling for that. So yeah, here's the he's going up. How they made it, And then it starts and you can see him explaining the correlation between life expectancy, so how old are people, and the earnings, so kind of how much how is the income. And then he's explaining over the time of 150 years that people in the beginning They have been in 1810. I'm not explaining. They have been all down there, and the continents are different colors. So Africa, Europe, and so on. And he's telling that, and the size is the population. Okay, cool. So that's the whole story, which goes, and then he's explaining how the World War happens and so on. So this is what made him very famous. It's a really cool video also. And then the statistical department approached us and says, we want to do the same. And we're like, okay, same data, or yeah, there's new technology, we do the same. And we're like, okay, can we do something more than just the same? And then there was the idea, which is not coming from us, I must make the brackets, that they created a full story, much more than Hans Rosling did. Hans Rosling is coming here and he's telling really about the data. And they said, okay, let's make a sketch. So let's make an application process. So people come, apply for a data visualization job, and then they are explaining it in a way, and then the director comes and explains in another way. So we make it humor. What our part was in the whole process is that we said, can we add more information? So that was, can we do something from the data side, something else different? So then not only that it is a sketch, not that is the change, let's do something more information-wise. And yeah, and Benjamin in the team, another Benjamin, he came and said, okay, let's do CO2 level. So we said, okay, cool. So what we in the end then did, what you can, this is actually how the whole thing happened. There were actors, so they were invited. It was in a hall. It was a setup. There was super professional movie making and so on. So that was not our part. What was our part is that we actually created with Blender and data, we created the whole code, which generated this animation over time, what you can see here. So that is kind of the one-dimensional side, but you can see them suddenly as lollipops. The reason why they are lollipops is that we are not showing it just from 2 dimensions, we are showing the third dimension, which is the CO2 level. So that means we say, yes, the more people earn, the longer they live, but also the more CO2 level they produce. So kind of progress goes with CO2 level. So this is a little bit that you see how the process went. And then at some point there was the overlay. And I would really like to show you now the result, the video.
What she said was great and true. And everything was right, but it's not accessible to a wider audience. What we need is visualization that makes the content more understandable.
Hi.
What is data?
That represents one data set.
Here.
Next.
Sorry.
That's a good data set.
Yeah.
Hello, hi.
Hello.
I'll use a well-known visualization from Hans Rosling to analyze income and life expectancy in all countries over the past 200 years. I use it to demonstrate that data and statistics support democratic dialogue and are a reliable and independent foundation for profound decisions. Income and life expectancy form the 2 axes, and the bubbles represent different countries. European countries are in blue, Asia in red, the Americas in yellow, and Africa in green. The size of the bubble reflects the size of the population. I'm showing you the world as it was 200 years ago. We can see that at the beginning, all countries were down here. They were all poor and had low life expectancy. But as we go through time, the industrialization in Europe boosts and drives the economy. Initially, the countries in Africa remain at the bottom and make little progress. Income and life expectancy increase, and countries tend to move to the upper right-hand corner. But this doesn't happen just in a straight line. Let's slow down for the 20th century and have a closer look. We can see multiple dips, which are the effects of global events. For example, decreases life expectancy due to Spanish flu or the two world wars, or economic setbacks occur during the Great Depression after the world economic crisis. But after the First World War, factories were able to produce in record time, thanks to conveyor belt, leading to more income. We're now at the time of the second industrial revolution, and the range between countries is huge. Let's stop here for a second and have a look on the world in 1950. Up front, in addition to the USA, are several small European countries that have become rich as a result of their colonies. Africa is still less developed, lacking in infrastructure and political structures. But look what happens from 1950s onwards. A few countries from Asia and South America are beginning to catch up. The so-called gap between West and the rest seems to be closing. Although everyone started at a similar position, differences have been enormous. Over the time of 200 years, we have seen remarkable progress. This visualization shows clearly how life expectancy, ultimately the health of all of us, is strongly correlated with prosperity. With statistics, assumptions become knowledge, thus supporting decision-making of all interested parties. Thank you very much for listening.
Wow, thank you very much. You're really passionate about this subject. We know this representation very well, and we try to develop it a bit further. May I show it to you? Let's switch places. Look, the world is not just two-dimensional as you approached it so far. You illustrate aspects of social and demographic elements. We have life expectancy on economy-wise, we have income. But that's not enough. That's not the whole story. There is a third axis, which is the environment. And these three dimensions make up the concept of sustainability. On this axis, you can see the annual per capita CO2 emission. We are looking here the past 70 years because we have very reliable data for this period. And the range is, again, enormous. At first glance, it might be surprising that big countries like India or China are here on the bottom on the left. But as soon as you go through time, you can see that, for example, China made a huge leap forward. They ramped up their industry, boosting up the economy. And from 1990 onwards, they're catching up with the prosperous countries. Let's stop here for a second. So the axis of CO2 emissions shows that an increase in wealth has a negative impact on the environment. So the reverse also holds true. Let's have a look at the past 20 years again. Economic decline, as we have seen after the collapse of the Soviet Union in the 1990s, set Eastern European countries back. This led to a reduction of CO2 emission and narrowing the gap again. However, a reduction on CO2 emission should also be possible without economic losses. Countries like Germany and the United States have taken measures to reduce the CO2 emission. As you can see, it has an effect. And this is how the world looks today. Many countries experienced an economic boom, but this goes hand in hand with a great impact on the environment. It's still a huge difference between the country in the top right-hand corner and that one here on the bottom on the left. Initial steps have been taken to reduce the environmental impact, but it's not enough. Per capita CO2 emissions are still far too high. We have to find ways to create sustainable prosperity and well-being. Look, the world is constantly changing, and data and statistics help me to understand these challenges better. Hans Ola and Anna Rosling demonstrated this years ago. We need to move forward with these ideas, with well-visualized data and statistics, and we can help society to make the right decision to cultivate sustainable prosperity.
Interesting development. Have you already analyzed the proportion of women in national parliaments?
Yes, but up to now, not with a good visualization of this.
You'd be surprised who's in front.
Yeah, so no, we must say one big thing. The director was amazing. I mean, he's actually not an actor, and he did this all. He learned the whole text, and he was doing this all in a space where these bubbles were not. So this is really good. So it was really, really. I mean, it's really an amazing achievement. So yeah, that was the first project. The other one I promised. Yeah, I know time. Okay, but this is fast. So the other project, yeah, is the consequence of the first one is that we had the Blender code. So we had this kind of three-dimensional code in Blender, and so the easy way to move forward is to do upcycle it and do something else with with everything what we did. So there was this. He is here. He is here again in Geneva at the World Health Organization, and he was also Alain Berset, and he introducing. There was in front of the conference room was a series of posters taken also from the designs from before, where the people from the conference could go with a mobile phone without installing an application and take from each of these years a three-dimensional model. So kind of they could observe and walk through these three-dimensional lollipop data with the CO2 levels for each of these years. So this is a little bit how it was this testing in the office. Kind of that's how you can really walk into this normally hardly readable three-dimensional model and look and observe each of these countries. And the second thing is that we said, okay, the one is that people go to the conference and they can kind of look at the posters at the conference, but we wanted also to give them a takeaway, which was this little brochure. And you had the same experience in the brochure. So you can see it also here that you could trigger the whole three-dimensional model at home or wherever you are. So kind of you could open it and it kind of opened it up. You can see it here. So it opens up and you can kind of everywhere you are, you can look at this three-dimensional little model. Yeah, that's long story short. Yeah, time-wise, let's go to the questions because I think we're, yeah, good, cool. So question time. Thank you.
Machen wir das auch mit?
Yes, I don't know what I have to do. Should I?
This looks good.
Then you should have control of it.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful talk.
This looks cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sure some people have questions, and Benji, I'm assuming you're collecting questions online if there are any. Yay.
Yes, correct. I'm also trying to fix the video glitch there.
A nice one.
Looks cool.
The camera in a sec. But we have a little hot mic here. So is there a question first from the room? And then I can. Yeah.
So I think in the last year, you guys have been doing some workshops and also teaching in some courses in the universities as well. So essentially, it means that the MIT system was in practice or in action. So do you have any takeaways from that experience? Anything surprising that you found when people were actually using it and putting their ideas in it? So any key takeaways from that?
Thank you. Do you wanna? No? Okay. Yeah, a lot actually. There's a lot of takeaways. So the first one is that we realized actually that the book itself as it is probably not the easy reading book I can practice and really work with it. So the first takeaway really from teaching was that it takes time, it takes practice, it takes digestion time. And we probably need to make a next step to make a next book, which is like a practice and workbook. which is easier and really based on a task and kind of really walks you through. So because people, the feedback is actually always good, but on the other hand, people say it's a little bit more complex than they maybe expected. It's more even a mind shift than we thought. We thought it's easier, that people were kind of, easy, yeah, I will do that. But people say that in everyday practice, it's not that easy to apply.
And maybe a second thing is that in the beginning we thought, this is like the great method to find new diagram types, which I think still it works, but we realized when we do these sketching exercises with many different groups that actually it helps people to understand their data at all. You know, it's sometimes you plan a method with a certain aim, and then maybe it has another purpose as well. So it's quite interesting. But I think this is also an ongoing thing and slowly we are getting feedback from people who buy the book. They say, I use this in my teaching, or I use this in 3 projects. This was just a comment, like, I think that 2 days ago or something. So, okay, that would be nice also to know more. So I think now after 2 years, the feedback is slowly coming. So before it was also sometimes a black box. Of course, not the teachings, but the people who bought the book.
We also found some new elements. Also others which are like, okay, maybe that we could skip. Yeah, so yeah, it's an ongoing experiment, learning. So if you have feedback,
let us know.
Let us know.
And then we'll do 2 online. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pass it.
Pass it on.
Thank you.
The fantastic presentation. I derived a lot of enjoyment, but may stick out of my neck and say that your approach kind of that resembles me atomical design, because it's also about elements and a relationship in this whole system. So maybe you've thought about it and how you're gonna to develop your approach in this field in data visualization.
You gonna?
Yeah, do you mean we can?
Lloyd, this is your
It's-
job.
Is the question also if we are planning to do like a tool or something that would help to use this?
A strategy in design.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's thoughts about like if that would make sense and how that could work, or could we even, I don't know, connect it to some existing frameworks, like, I don't know, a more open D3, or I don't know, but it takes a lot of time and research, and we are a team of like 4, 5 people, so it's really difficult at the moment to spend a lot of time on this. But yeah, we are not sure how and what, but at the moment we thought, a next step could be, like as Darjan mentioned, to do a workbook. Yeah, we should also.
Online questions?
Benji, do you want to add some?
Yes. Yeah, we have a couple of questions online. I'm just going to read it for you. Jan asks about like how long their work was for scripting in Blender. I guess it's a very technical question of how much time that took, and he also asks like how that balances between the rest of your technical work.
The balance. Okay, the Blender thing, it was an interesting experiment because actually we didn't find any tutorials or libraries which are going into the direction of data visualization, Blender coding, Python /. So it took us, it would be wrong to say it took us 1 summer, but it took us 1 summer every day thinking in the back side of your head and think, how could they do that? So let's say it is kind of all of our projects, maybe from the process, they are spread over a longer time period where we work on a project maybe 6 months, but that doesn't mean that we work 6 months, 8 hours a day, everyone in the team. It's kind of, it's a picking it up, trying it, does it work? No, taking by side, taking up. So it's hard to say for the Blender. I would say in total, maybe it was something like 20 hours, maybe 40, but
Yeah, not like super long. I think
no.
it took us more time to find out how to do it, but we love these kind of small challenges in the team. And Sarah from the team, she was already doing Blender before, but totally other stuff. So we thought, okay, I found this tutorial that you can add data scripting to Blender, but then also animated how to do that. So it was like a puzzle
Yeah, it
to
was
do
a
that, but we love these kind of challenges, so
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah, so we took then, I came in with the Python side, and so in the end, it worked. And how that is balanced with technical, that was
Yeah, so we don't use like Blender every day, maybe.
no, not at all.
Yeah, we use front-end coding a lot, but not this Python and Blender and stuff. It's more a side thing.
Yeah, so
Right.
normally we work with all the stuff you also know. So if we have a new diagram type and it has to be interactive, then we look, of course, in D3. The end, we also work a lot with React framework from the other side. So more the standard things. Yeah.
Yeah, but we like to try new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I have a follow-up to a statement that you just made from Yuri Engelhardt. Also, hi, Yuri. The question from Yuri is, you mentioned sort of like that you have found new elements. Is there anything that you could already share with us, like which elements those are?
No.
Gotta buy the second version of the book, is what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I've
Sign up now.
Yeah, sign up now. No. Yeah, that kind of. No, I mean, it would be too early to go into all these very specific questions of new elements and so on. So kind of there is a bit of, yeah, thanks, Yuri, for understanding.
Yeah, maybe what could be an extension is to go more in a, like, now it's like pretty like neutral from technology wise, Illustrator or coding or whatever. Maybe there could be something like that is more on the side of interaction.
No, all good. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
It's excellent. We have one more question from online from Raquel. And the question is, if you have encountered through your experience now applying the system, if you have encountered situations that are where applying the system is tricky or inconvenient, and they're thinking especially about science communications topics that they cite as a potential example. But maybe you have others, or maybe you have never found any inconveniences or challenges.
The system is so perfect. No. No, I would say okay, there is maybe one thing that we didn't talk about before, but we really, be it science communication or any kind of communication, any project, we always in the first phase, we do hand-drawn things. So basically, also now to make it more sophisticated, we do hand-drawn things and put some elements from the book and say, okay, this is how we do it, and this is the variation, so that the clients understand what have we been changing from one sketch to another one. But basically, what we really kept since and also before the book is this analog hand-drawn process. Because there is a very good because that is a signal to the client in the workshops, especially in scientific communication. We have currently one project in that direction, is that it is still work in progress. So kind of if they see hand drawn and the kind of that is still, they don't have this end of the process panic that they think, oh, that's not what we want. So kind of if that is more in this raw, sketchy process inside, there is much more space for negotiation, for discussion, and also because based on this system that we have, also kind of realizing if something doesn't work that well. Yeah, but we use it really a lot, kind of to also educate a little bit our clients.
Yeah, and maybe to make that also more clear is that our book should be rather a inspiration book, so and not like A to Z process that you have to follow every step, like really, yeah, step by step.
Yeah.
So I think also some people use it just to see, maybe I can use something else than just color for 2 categories. What else could I do? Or, it's more.
There is no right and wrong.
Yeah, that's in general the idea. Yeah.
Playful. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Lloyd, I think we're done on the remote question, so hand it back to you.
Anybody in the room have another question?
I was wondering on the examples that you gave of how you apply the system, and then you have these nice visualizations, on if you assess kind of the comprehension and understandability of the visualization, especially for lay people, and if you did, how did you went about it?
Okay. Acoustically. So what the question was, is it complications in the process of making the book?
No.
No.
Like how did you test if people actually understand the visualizations that you're showing?
How do we test if people understand the visualization?
Paper.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually also in
How do you like?
no, that's
like the color?
No, exactly. That's what we try to avoid. That's the testing of the visualization. We always try to say, okay, it's not about liking or don't liking, because that's very kind of personal. That's also what we try in with students, is that we say, okay, on the content side, try to read it. So kind of we give a very specific question in, let's say, with the family that you have seen, say, who of the persons of the Wagner family has moved most times, or kind of a very content question. Ask the person something that you know, which is a pattern that you say one person has moved a lot of times in their life, and then ask the person to read it and answer the question content-wise. And if they can do that, please kind of think out loud, and it can do that. Task done. And otherwise, you will yourself see that maybe that is in this diagram very hard to read. That answering that question.
Yeah, and as a first step, in our practice, that comes from this black and white approach from the Basel School, is, as I mentioned, this doing like variations. And when you compare them, I think this is always the first step to say, okay, maybe this works better than the other one, but sometimes you can only tell it when you see options. And this, what he said, is like the second step. Yeah.
Good. John? Here,
Yeah. Any last questions? Otherwise, we can.
Otherwise, in person. Yeah.
I mean, then thank you so much. Another round of applause.
Thank you.